Take one.
You're watching the Questionnaire podcast.
What can they say?
You are checking out the Questionnaire.
What's your name again?
The Questionnaire.
Would you like to have questions?
I don't got it. I'm not that guy.
Submit yourself.
Super fun and entertaining.
This is the Questionnaire.
Fallout continues from yesterday's shocking footage. Wait. What shocking footage? Alright, well, maybe somebody did something and something happened and I just didn't know about it because sometimes I don't pay attention. I got a lot going on. Yeah, this is the Questionnaire, right? And sometimes we try to kill everything. Sometimes we don't. And sometimes it's nuts and sometimes it goes sideways and this and that. And, all over the place. Season 3, it's been a blast. It has. With the team that we've established over here, man, I can't show enough love to all of them, from Shiro for the graphics, Larry for the editing, Scott booking things sometimes, I book some things sometimes, you know what I mean? And then we got Eric over there with the website where you can check out pre-show questionnaires right now, and I may or may not get into a little bit of one, but I got a lot of things I want to get into about someone trying to kill every single spawn. Yeah, with Rob Duenas. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm phenomenal. Like I said, my bad about running late, Rob. Life be wild sometimes. But I'll tell you, I'm gonna say I read Spawn when it initially came out. I read probably the first 100 issues. Some things happened, and I honestly haven't dove back into Spawn, right? Since I really got back into it. Because there's this part of me that's like, oh man, this became like so much that I need like 4 compendiums to read, and because I know of what happened as far as like I think there was a big war event, and like I want the time and all of that to read, but it's been a lot. But when I seen Spawn kills every spawn, part of my brain went, what? Nah. And then I seen the cover and I was like, yeah. And then I started kind of thumb through it a little bit and seen the art and everything. And I was like, all right. And I picked it up and I put it on my pull list, right? So I want to say, like, it wasn't even the story initially. It was how it was drawn and the art that had me like, yeah, I'll pick that up. I will, right? I'll snatch it. So you sold me with that, Rob. I want to let you know right off the bat, right?
Well, thank you.
What was your, like, when you were initially approached with this, right? And how much did you know as far as, like, did you know everything you were going to get to draw and how much you were going to get to play with things from Image in general, not even just the Spawn universe?
Well, what do you mean with Image?
Well, because, isn't there... Oh, don't tell me I'm misremembering this now, but aren't there like spawns that are like invincible and such?
Well, there are violators and different spawns and stuff in there.
That's what I mean. So you got to play around with other parts of Image and meshing them with spawn. See, you don't
specifically Todd, and there's some background stuff. Well, let me tell you, Todd hit me up on Instagram in 2022 and just said, "Hey, bud, like, hey, bud, right? Like, you want to draw some Spawn comics? You want to draw some Spawn kills everyone part 3 or whatever? Just like that. That's it." So I think what happened was, there's a buddy of mine. He's called the Mighty James on Instagram. His name's Brandon James. We've been friends since 2007. And there was a little period of time around 2017, 2016, 2018, when I was doing like designs for like his commissions. Like I just lay out some rough construction and he would finish it because he was having trouble figuring out construction and figure work. And we're good friends. I'm like, hey, I'll just draw some, if you want to draw some weird stuff, I'll draw you some construction. Anyways, I came up with this sketch of Bane, real chunky looking Bane, right? And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not giving you that one. I was like, I just had a feeling about it, man. I was just like, I don't know why. I think I should finish this one up. Well, later that year, I got contacted to work with Toys for Bob on the new Crash Bandicoot game, which then led me into Spyro and then back into Crash Bandicoot. And then I worked on some Overwatch, and then took some time off, and then the studio kind of shut down. So when all that got done, I was sitting around going like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And I had that Bane sketch. I'm like, I'll just finish this. Right. So I finished that sketch, did a digital version, did a traditional color pencil version, and that caught Todd's eye, the Bane one. So that's it. And he just basically looked through my portfolio on Instagram, which I'm always posting. At the time, I was posting like different sequentials and stuff, like goofy stuff, like nothing serious. But he just asked if I wanted to draw some Spawn Kills Everyone Part 3 or whatever. And I'm like, you bet I do, you know? So but there was no story pitch or anything. He's like, great. Just, then they set up a meeting with Thomas Healy, who's the editor-in-chief over at Todd McFarlane Productions. We had a meeting, and Todd basically, he asked me, he says he basically asks every artist this when he's writing something, because initially Todd was going to write it. And so Todd just said, what do you want to draw? He's like, Brett Booth likes to draw dinosaurs. So he put dinosaurs in Gunslinger Spawn because Brett likes to draw dinosaurs. So I told Todd, I'm like, man, I've been reading Spawn since 92. I have the first 100 issues straight. I used to see him at Comic-Con every year in San Diego. I was there at 92 Comic-Con when Image launched. That's how I found out about Spawn and stuff like that. And I've interacted with them a few times as a fan, like when the Spawn video game launched and stuff like that. Because there was times you could get to people at the booth around the mid 90s when the hype died down a little bit. So I told Todd, I just want to draw all your characters, right? Like, I want to draw Sam and Twitch and the Redeemer. I want to draw like every Spawn character and get my hands on, And so he said, all right, he thought about it. And then when he thought about it, I went off and just did some designs on how I would design all like the main characters that were currently in print, like the Scorched. And so I did these designs for regular Spawn and Chibi Spawn, regular Violator and Chibi Violator, regular, She Spawn, a little Chibi Speed. I did this for everybody.
Wait.
Huh?
I just real quick. How long did that take? That's a lot of characters, Rob.
Yeah, I did it over a couple days. Like, it's loose. It wasn't. I didn't do it in full color, but it's pretty. It's on my. If you go on my sketchcraft.com under comics, Spawn Kills Every Spawn, you'll find all that stuff in there.
Link in the description. Continue with the story.
Yeah. So when we came back to have another creative meeting about it, I just showed them all this. Because what I was doing was emailing this stuff. Right. Because I was like, no script yet. So I just kept making drawings, waiting for script, right? Figuring I'll just keep sending you art until, And so what happens is people in the office start posting up my art, and they're like, hey, where's that from? And that's that guy you hired. Right. So
that's that guy you hired.
Yeah. It's hard to get projects momentum. Even when you want to do them, sometimes it's hard to get momentum. So, I did a bunch of designs and ideas. I did one where I even did like some redrawings of Bill Watterson, a couple Bill Watterson Calvin Hobbes strips, but I replaced it with Chibi Spawn, or Terry and Wanda instead of his parents, or a Chibi Mandalorian Spawn instead of Spaceman Spiff, and I was just doing this just to get it. I didn't know what they wanted to do with the book, So Todd saw all this stuff, and then he's like, he eventually said, well, let's just put him to work. It took a few months to get that going, but then he gave me because Todd always works from plot. So he gave me the basic description of the convention scene. And it's the scene where Chibi's sitting at the table trying to sell sketches, and he's getting depressed because he's not selling anything and then it was supposed to show an interior shot of the convention center. And these people are there to see every superhero but Chibi Spawn. Now, what I did was, as I laid this out, but in my mind, I was like, they already did a convention in the first Spawn Kills Everyone. The Spawn, little Chibi Spawn goes to a regular San Diego Comic-Con style thing, and he kills all these cosplayers thinking they're Deadpool and Superman, but they're cosplayers, right? That's what. And so I was like, well, we already did a convention, and I'm like, so what if it was like a Spawn Con, right? Like a Spawn convention. So this way I could just draw Spawns, right? And it'd be funny if they're there to see every Spawn but him. So that I made like the logo on the booth, and I drew all these variant Spawns and parody Spawns and Max Spawns and Scud Spawns, and everything you could think of. And I when I sent the thumbnails over and the idea, they were cool with it, but the 2-page spread of the convention was just supposed to be like a quarter or a half page. And so I said, we can make this a 2-page spread, you know? And they were like, yeah, do that. Yeah, do that.
That's one of the ones that look, man, that's like, I feel if you're a fan of Image in the 90s, especially.
Yeah, you
That's
can
a
say
page
that.
you can just stare at and be like, this is hilarious.
I own Joe Chiodo color guides. You know what I mean?
I gotta ask, out of that page, is there one to you that you're like, I got to draw that? That's hilarious. I never thought I'd be able to like.
Well, yes and no. It's kind of sad, but like, so there's a couple things. But some of the fun ones was if you look in the background, I drew Jay and Silent Spawn, which I thought was funny because I love Kevin Smith, and right, like that's back there. There's one in there that says, I knew people were I was going for an Invader Zim feel with chibis, so I actually drew an Invader Spawn in the background. So if anyone said you're just ripping off Invader Zim, I'm like, no, actually there's an Invader Spawn in the book. He's right there. So like that was fun to do. A little bit of a Max-ish. It's just the arm, so you can't, because I was like, Todd put all those arms in Spawn issue 10. So if I just draw the arm, I can, you know, maybe I can get away with that one. The Savage Dragon Spawn was super geeking out on that because, and if you look, I made Savage Dragon Spawn hold the pencil the way Larson holds his pencil. So if you know, it's Larson accurate. The sad part was, I figured, I was a big fan. Well, I was a fan of cartoonist kayfabe. So I put them in the back because when I used to go to conventions in the early 2000s on the East Coast, between Phoenix and LA, there would be this guy that'd show up. We called him Mermaid Man. And Mermaid Guy used to go to all the people. He could tell you were struggling if you weren't selling things in Artist Alley, right? And he would show up and say, hey, I want to commission you to draw a mermaid. And you'd be like, all right, cool. And he would go into his files and he'd have very specific references of water fountains and outfits and hairstyles and accessories. And he'd always find the people that really needed money. He could tell. And I dealt with this guy for like 4 or 5 years, you know, to the point where you'd see Mermaid Guy. And when you would work on it, he'd come back to the table and tell you things like, all right, well, you keep working on it. You're like, no, man, I'm done. You know, it's like, no, you're not, you keep going, you know? So I thought it would be funny if I put like a spontaneous kayfabe or something like that in the background, where it was Ed and Jim dressed up like a Spawn, but he's got his Jim hair, that 80s kind of hair he had. And I had Ed. And if you look, there's a guy in front with the mermaid backpack, and you can see Ed like holding his sketch like he's done, but he's got this face, he's got the Ed face. And that's me putting Jim and Ed through the Mermaid Guy, right? No one's gonna know about this. And I thought it would be funny, you know, if like when the book came out, they go, you know, you're in the book, and then they kind of shit on it. Like, you know, that would be right. I was like, they're gonna totally take a dump on this because they don't like the big feet. I draw like totally 90s. And then unfortunately, 3 issues in on the book. This is way done. Ed passed. And now that's in the issue ship, right? And I'm like, oh man, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, you know? And unfortunately they didn't. People were really respectful when it came out, you know? But that was sort of sad because I was like, I never got to see Ed, you know? That's Mermaid Guy. He's out there somewhere, that Mermaid Guy, dude.
It makes me wonder because got a great list of people over here as far as creators on the questionnaire, and I giggle very hard at that because we've had a lot of Canadian creators. Up in Canada, there's the Hawaiian shirt guy. he is known. I mean, like I can, like several creators have acknowledged this guy on the show. In
Hawaiian shirt guy.
so it makes me, and well, he had a affinity for making things of a very naughty nature is what he was requesting.
Cheesecake.
Like, some people, yeah, I mean, I can't remember the specifics, but I was like, all right.
I think every coast has them, right? And I just figured at this particular Spawn cost, I modeled this Spawn Con after San Diego Convention Center, right? The interior and the exterior of San Diego. So I figured these two spawn, Ed and Jim Spawn in this universe have never been to the West Coast conventions. So that was a taste of Mermaid Guy. I imagine if Ed and Jim Spawn went to Canada for Canadian Spawn Con, right? Right, they would encounter Hawaiian t-shirt Spawn guy. Yeah. Yeah.
I love how these guys are so notorious, though, that they have established like this name where it's like it's Hawaiian shirt guy, it's mermaid guy, like, and the fact that you said mermaid man initially, like, you've no, my boy is way too much into SpongeBob, right? That is besides the point, though. Right? I feel, and I'm so. I'd love to, because I remember now, you know, it's terrible reading this. I was like, oh yeah, I have read the previous one in a graphic novel form at some point. Like, I fell off of comics for a minute and missed a lot of things that I'm still catching up on, and it's just, you know, it's crazy how quickly comics can move. You know,
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah, they come and go.
you know, like on to the next thing, and I think that's something that you and I had, like, when the first time. Rob's awesome for everyone out there. I just want to say, like, a great dude for putting up with my crap over here on the questionnaire. And again, that's why I love the team, or otherwise, like, it wouldn't look as clean and everything wouldn't be nice. And y'all should check out all the links, including the ones below, to check out sketchcraft.com, right? And all that. Now,
Yeah.
I lost my point giving you props, Rob, but I don't care. Oh no. So I'm curious with this. Oh man, see, gotta watch myself. I'd love to see what they could do with this character if they made it a serious character. Because
Well, I couldn't draw a series. I'm not a monthly comics artist. Like, and that was something that when I came on to the book, I told them I'm not a monthly comics artist. There's just physical limitations I have, like with that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a trade paperback guy. I can give you, you know, 100, 120 pages every 12 to 18 months, however you want to do that, you know? So, you know, if you'd like to see more Spawn kills every Spawn, go bug Thomas Healy and Todd McFarlane and Image Comics over on Instagram. They definitely follow those and let them know.
Now wait. So you couldn't do it. You wouldn't want to do this monthly then?
I can't do a monthly. Like, I just physically can't. Like, I hit a carpal tunnel limit around 2008.
Oh,
So drawing with pencil and loose and all that, it doesn't work with me. So, like, I have a process. You know, like, it's not quite this bad, but you know, like the director Matt Reeves from the Batman, you know, he takes his time. He has a process. It produces a result. You know, I can do this. I can do on my own around 2 pages, maybe 4 a week if it's talking heads. But if it's actual image style pages, we're looking at 2 a week, complete inked. You know what I mean? Like, that's
okay.
You know,
So you're going complete to.
I can't do like my roughs. I mean, unless you get an inker and I'm really giving you half a book, I don't know how. I've never been able to make that part work without. Yeah, I'm not. This is why, like, I gave up on comics a long time ago. Like, I initially sold an independent comic to Image when Jim Valentino was running stuff in 2005 and 6 called Mosaic. My buddy Adam Kogan wrote it. He used to work at Backbone Entertainment. Screw On, the Amazing Screw On Head, the video game, all that stuff. Like, he did all that. And so, because I knew I had a day job doing t-shirts and graphic designs, because I can't do monthly comics. Like, I know what that grind takes, and physically, like, it's just not my speed. So I've always been of the mind that, like, if the trade sells anyway, then I'll work towards that. And then financially, I've just spent a long time trying to figure out how to make all that work. So we got that down at this point. So, but I let them know in the beginning what my limitations were, you know, and if they're cool with that, we can move forward. Otherwise, you know, I wish I was, you know, I really do wish I could just, you know, I don't sit around not doing things. It's just, it just takes me a while to get there. I look up and it's 4 hours and it wasn't 15 minutes, you know? So that's just how it works.
No, I get that. And I say that because we recently had Mark Bagley on. And I hope you all checked out the PanCon Christmas Eve special, right? I know my tree's still up, whatever. Don't worry about the shooting order and how things come out, but they come out, right? And, you know, whatever, man. You know, it's entertainment. Like you said, how, like, when you were done with issue 5 And how long, like, was issue 1 out? Or no, you said you were on
Oh
issue
yeah.
3.
I was done. I was done with issues 4 by the time. No, I what was I? Issue 5 came out. There was a little bit of a delay, not on my end, on production. There was a production delay,
Well,
but
that happens.
and it happens. But so what I was doing was my colors was being swamped, I think, at the time, because he was coloring King Spawner, Gunslinger, and stuff. Dude, he's got a lot of work.
Oh.
So I was helping him out, but I did color guides. Like I did a lot of back and forth with him on the first couple issues. And then by the third one, I did full color guides on my black and whites, because it would take me I could do 4 or 5 pages a day. So if there was a break in the book, I would just do I'd do the whole book for a week before I got the next script. And then he'd have the whole thing figured out color wise, so he could save him time, And then on the last issue, I helped out and colored the last 2 pages myself.
See, can I say though, that's crazy. You're saying he's coloring 3 books. You're as far as the art. My point is, like I said, we have Mark Bagley on. I do hope you guys checked out that PanCon. But he was talking about the fact, when he was doing Ultimate Spider-Man, he's it's 70 hours a week drawing.
Yeah. I refuse to go above 60. My sweet spot is around 50 hours, So, and that's just because what happened was about 10 years ago in 2014 and 2015 on Christmas, my dad passed and then my mom passed. Young. And my dad from just working too hard, and my mom from other reasons. And so it was so weird because we had the funeral at the same parlor, a year apart, and everyone was there. But it really changed my. We all have to do what we have to do, but I can, when it comes to drawing, I just was if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it this way, or I'll just not do it, Because that was the question. I listened to Todd for years on podcasts. Say he'd go, no one wants to draw interiors. I'm well, I do. But here's how I work, so we can do that or not do that, however that works out, but they did nothing but supportive, Todd didn't really, so, it's really just upon me to, make that all work, and it does. So I'm happy with that. But in terms of, you were oh, it'd be great if it was a series. Unfortunately, I'm not Scotty Young or Rhett Bean or Eric Laufman. I can't just crank out a book every 3 weeks, you know what I mean? And move on.
But again, that's rough. To do that. I think you've either putting in an exorbitant amount of time from when you were born till now to just be able to go right. And even still, when you're drawing the interiors, I think there's always going to be points you have to slow down on. I don't think people the interiors are by far the most, and I've heard it from a couple artists. Interiors, they're I don't want to do it. I do not want to. Why do you think that's? Do you think it's just the sheer workload? Do you think it's tell me on a standard image book? Let's say you were to do that book monthly. How many hours you got to put in per week?
I don't know.
Restart this whole commercial because people could probably hear Pokemon in the background.
Please check out this amazing promotion that we have prepared with the questionnaire.
I'm the unknown factor. This right here is the obscure fragment.
Are watching this show?
Yeah, I'll do editing
with the questionnaire.
So we've edited this awesome commercial together, y'all.
90% off.
We are not giving 90% off.
No, I mean 9.
How about 20?
The only thing that you have to do is enter that code that you have right there.
9.
No, 20.
10.
How about 20?
I'm printing your comics today with Studio Comics Press.
Just use this code right here, right here, right here. Look, I put it somewhere. All right, it's probably actually right here, right here, right. It's right under your chin. It says Quest 24.
That code you gotta enter in our website, and then you will get a whipping discount of 20% in any of the items or products that we have on the website.
9.
20.
9.
20%.
9.
All right.
9.
He wants to give you 9% off. I, as well as Alfonso over there on Studio Comics, want to give you 20% off.
You can get it right there with this amazing code. Just enter it right here. Yeah, just right there. There.
Use that code over at Studio Comics to get 20% off.
Thank you very much. This is a special one for all our friends of the questionnaire.
Type in Quest24 when you check out, man. You can figure out the percentage you'll get right then because it'll show in your order.
Yeah,
right?
9% off.
It's 20%.
The Questionnaire, the best current comic book podcast existing around.
So happy to have Studio Comics as our very, very first sponsor. Say Studio Comics!
Studio Comics!
Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and do all the stuff that you have to do.
I'm the Unknown Factor with the Questionnaire. Make sure you check it out.
I don't know. You know, I mean, probably 60 to 80 hours. You know, depends on like how fast you are, how simple it is. Look, if it's talking heads, you know, I could crank out a book a month, but it's not. And, you know, I have some people said draw less. And I'm like, all right, then give me a script that hinges on drawing less. Like I don't write the scripts, man. You know, I'm drawing what's there, and I use the time I've requested to make certain that the pages are worth remembering. Because I sort of feel I'm not a guy who's like comics were better, and then I'm not saying that. I'm not one of those dudes. There's far more variety now than there was then. I would say a lot of them aren't as memorable visually because of the time constraints, and the tools that have helped people get those done all produce a very similar result. So you have like 3 or 4 different kind of styles, and that's it. And that's just the way it works, you know? So I would like a certain kind of thing, because if I'm in the ICU like my father was on a Christmas, I want to be able to look at what I did and have no regrets. You understand what I mean? I want to make
no, because look, it was probably a year before the show. Well, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I'd really have to really think about it. And it's been a crazy, crazy time these past couple of years. That's neither here nor there. Where I really, really started diving into comics again, right? And I'm really trying to think right now, like, because I can remember that convention image and like certain things on the Jay and Silent Bob, and like there were so many. Oh, there were so many. But I mean, it pops to my mind, you know.
Right.
I'm trying to think sincerely of an image I can think of from a comic that I've read. That's just terrible, because I shouldn't say this, because some of those people have been on the show, like a good chunk of some of the stuff I've read. So maybe I should shut up right now. But it was that specific con image, man, where you were able to do all that. I mean, it was so funny. Again, was a big fan of Image. Like you said, you met Todd right when Spawn was blowing up. I met Todd when the Spawn movie was coming out.
Yeah.
You know, like right then, that's when I had, just a brief moment where I was able to meet him and get a signature. I mean, you know, I didn't catch him at the booth. I catched Mark Silvestro at the booth, which I can't say how happy I am that I did. And I'm totally okay with that.
Very tall man.
Yeah, you caught Todd. I caught Mark. It's fine. I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, man, you got me. I don't know. I'm just really thinking on that, because you definitely in that created an image that I think sticks. Pun, I guess, intended. It wasn't, but it works with that convention one. I'm really curious as to, like, if you were able to play with this, what is there something that you haven't been able to draw as far as some kind of twist, you know, with the Jay and Silent Bob, with the Max, with everything?
Well, I put tons of stuff in the. Like, you never have to ask me for ideas, right? Like,
yeah, is there something in the back of your head that after you got done with this
one of the things one of the things I really wanted in the first series, and I've been vocal about this, that didn't make it, that I was told would make it, and they just didn't do it, was I wanted a big go-kart race. That's why I put the monster truck, the Violator truck, on the first issue, on the first cover, as I thought it would be funny if the Violators were drawn like we're driving spa mobiles or something, or go-kart, you know, and then Chibi was driving the because when the Todd toys came out, he had this Violator monster truck, right? It was one of these accessories for kids, and I bought all the toys. I had a job at that point. I bought everything, and so, but when I got the Violator truck, I was really annoyed that it didn't have a long tongue. It was just this mouth. And I was like, you know what would be great is if it had a sticky hand. You remember those sticky hands you used to put in a quarter
dude, I
machine?
got 6 years old.
Right. I would love if this had like a sticky hand tongue. You could like put in and then like, you know. So I went to Comic-Con that year. This is 94. Yeah, 94 because it came out in 93. Anyways, 93, 94. I go to Comic-Con that year, and the Todd McFarlane toys, TMP toys or Todd toys or whatever it was set up at the time, they had this older woman working there. She lived like in her 50s or something. She was like a rep, right? And they had like the gray clay sculpted prototypes for the Bad Rock and the Malbolgia when they were, you know, before they were done. They were all in a glass booth. And I go up there and I go, hey, like I got a question. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, so like about this Violator truck. So I go and tell her about the sticky hand thing. And I remember her looking at me. She was kind of Southern. She goes, aren't you a little old for the toys? And I'm like, do you know who made this shit? Like, you don't know your audience, lady. I'm like, look, I'm telling. So that cover, I was able to give them the big tongue. And I wanted to have a race where that tongue came out and was grabbing spawns and eating them and stuff, you know? And I just didn't get that there. And I was telling when Todd just didn't have enough time to write the book. So eventually Thomas brought on John Layman, you know, who's a fantastic writer, creator of Shoe. And I mean, he's been in the comics game for a long time. He used to be editor at Wildstorm back in the day. And he's written everything, worked with everybody. And I remember telling John, like, man, I want this go-kart. He's like, no problem. And every issue, I'm like, as they get down, they get the new script. I'm like, we getting the go-karts, right? Like, and he's like, yeah. And then the last one, no go-karts. And I'm like, you know, so I talked to the Thomas. I'm like, look, I don't want to be that guy, you know, but like, you know, if we're going to ask artists what they would like to draw and they answer and you ignore them, then just don't ask me what I want to draw, you know, because I know it sounds weird, but it's like for me, I'm drawing this for 15-year-old Rob. Like that's the person I'm trying to impress. The kid in me. Like, really, if I Back to the Future myself, right, and showed him this, I want to be. I got stuck in sticky hand right in the fucking book. You know what I mean? Like, so at least it's on the cover to an extent, and I'd love to get that back in there. But I'm like, this is me playing around with the toys, and I'd like to be able to, you know, if I'm very team oriented, but that was one thing I wanted. And another thing I thought would have been fun. And this is before we had a story idea, is I didn't know what they were doing for the story, if they wanted to reboot or continue. Because so I thought it would be funny or different if we just rebooted and had it to where we had an alternate universe, Todd and Wanda, and they lost their child in birth. And so they make a deal with the devil to get their kid back, and he sends them chibi spawn. Right? Like that would be, you know, like, so I thought it would be fun if like this kid, like he uses his spawn powers like through imagination or like turns toys big or, you know, and so this way I could do like he even have him draw his own comics. So I gave him like a stick spawn. It's a stick figure spawn and like a Vio Noodle. Like I love those first toys where the Violator has the rubber hands. People hated that fucking thing, right? I love the fucking rubber hand. So when I draw Violators in the book, they all got these stupid rubber hose hands. Right? You know?
I know, dude. I remember that. I loved that. Like that was crazy too because of all the Spawn figures and how they were and and it's like here's Violator and he's rubbery and it was especially with how the other figures were. It was something that, I think, I don't know anybody that
people
really
complained to no end. No one liked it.
They didn't like it.
I want it.
But
I want it. That's what I want to do. If you're going to, you know, so the way I think about cartooning, and I've had this philosophy my whole life, and I stand by it, is have fun, but don't make fun. Right? So I've never been a fan of like the stupid comics where Spawn just looks dumb and he's got a cape that's 1,000 miles long because it's funny to make fun of. Me or making fun of the book. You know, if you want to have fun with Spawn, and like have them deal with like, you know, like a 20, like a bunch of gremlins that look like little baby violators, and he's stuck with in this situation that's hilarious. You know what I mean? Spoof gremlins with Spawn or something.
Look, all I know is I got a bone to pick real quick, Rob, because like for real, firstly, that is the worst Married with Children as far as for Al and Wanda, right? Like what's wrong with you, right? Because it's terrible, but you're
Well,
sitting
hold
there.
on. Hold on, you're jumping subjects. So when I initially designed Terry and Wanda, I made them look like DJ Jazzy Jeff and Hillary, and they're in the convention. My versions of those are in that convention panel. If you look, they're there. But when John came on board, he wanted Spawn to just have the mom that he has in the comics, but he wanted to do a different mom. So he had a Spawn. So it's a Spawn mom. It's a different thing entirely. And then eventually,
Wait, no, yeah, I
plan was
totally
to-
read that book. I don't know why my brain went to that. I took way too. You were telling that story far too well, and I didn't catch the names quite because I was like, wait a second, he said Terry and stuff. And yeah, no, never mind what I said. That would be honestly kind of dope story though. But whatever. My bone to pick with you is you're only married. You have no children. Why are you in that house?
Yeah, well, that was Al's dream. So I'm living Al's dream, right? Yeah, he was happily married until the kids. So
Look here, Rob. All right, what kind of crap is that, man?
it's true.
Well, fine then. Let's know. We got a pre-show question over here. Pre-show question over here. Pre-show questionnaire over here. I'm trying to get those words out too quick. They ain't coming out clear, right? You can check it out on the website. Got a couple of over there. You'll be able to check out Rob's right now. But what I want to pick a bone with you about on that is just patriotic music. Really, like all patriotic music annoys you. Why?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
No.
Like even this,
pick a
like
song.
like
Pick a song. Any song.
the Star Spangled Banner.
All right. Yeah, I don't like it.
And
I pick another one.
I don't know. Now I wish I could Google like
there you go.
patriotic songs real quick. I don't know.
I don't like patriotism in any of its form. I did my time in the Army. I've seen where it leads. I don't like it. You know, be supportive, but critical. And anytime someone waves a flag, I just feel like they're selling me something they can't provide. So, you know. I mean, when I was in the Army, for 3 years, minimal amount of time, grew up in a military household. I don't know any time in my 47 years on this earth, military families who you would say are patriotic haven't been on food stamps. You know, there's been no under Reagan, under Bush 1, under Clinton, under Bush 2, under Obama, under Trump. So I don't like patriotism. I don't like where it leads. It doesn't make me feel better. I don't, any national anthem is probably just a riff on some British thing, and they got their riff from some other country. They just changed the lyrics. I just don't care. So, you know, I'd say after patriotic music, religious music would be next, you know? So those two things I'm not into.
So what's your political stance, Rob?
I believe everyone deserves a living wage.
Oh, hey, you and Jim Valentino both agree on that, man. I'll be real honest. I seen a post from him, and he was like, $20 an hour should be the federal minimum wage. And I was like, I always thought 15 was, you know, but now that I think about it.
No, actually it would be 30 if you did if you did the actual inflation math. So at this point, you know, like when Image was founded, they didn't pay their artists less money. They increased wages. Inkers were making $600 a page. And that's really why like DC and Marvel got all mad at Image and stuff, is they were paying people too well. I mean, why should someone inking a book be able to buy a car, right?
Man, look, it's cool. No, and it's funny because I've always loved Image, and it's this is when I was talking to you earlier. This is something I said, like I want to go to just buying graphic novels again, right? The main reason for that is because the stories I found in graphic novel as opposed to the ones I found when I was just getting books, because for some reason, and it's probably because more than anything, I ended up getting books. A lot of the cases, I'm sorry to say this, like from the bigger two. That hey, these 3 issues are good. Hey, I'm getting bored. Hey, I'm getting, and then my ADHD completionist brain is like, I have to keep on buying this until it's done, right? And then I'm buying, and no, I need to. That's why I'm like with graphic novels, I ended up running into crazier things because that's how, yeah, I've ran into. I mean, not that I can't say I haven't done that with issues, but so what's your? I mean, how often do you go into a comic book store?
Every week, I go to the Collector's Outpost here in Meridian, Idaho.
Okay, I go
I'm friends
there.
with Tom and the whole crew. I regularly buy Savage Dragon whenever it's available. Right now, it hasn't been half the year, but it will in January. But they also sell coffee, so I make sure I support the shop every week and buy a coffee. And I do check the racks. I really liked Fosgate did an issue of I Hate Fairyland. I think it was issue 46 or 45. Jay Fosgate. I thought that was fantastic. Anything Brett Bean draws, I collect. But there aren't a lot of the books. Just everything's of its time, right? Like there's certain looks that work down. A lot of it doesn't really speak to me, you know, in a certain way. I appreciate a lot of the artistry. Like anything Daniel Warren Johnson draws, I think is worth owning and amazing. You're always going to see something you never expected to see. But there's a lot of like, however, the house styles you see at DC and the big two or Marvel don't really interest me any, you know, and never really have. I mean, I like Jim Lee, but I wasn't as big a fan of, let's say, Al Rio or any of the other cats that were underneath there, you know, like they're very good. I met all of them. They could outdraw me a million ways to one, but it didn't speak to me. I would have bought anything at Oni, like Coffin or Magic Pickle, you know, and like those kinds of things aren't really being produced today, you know.
Wait. What is Magic Pickle?
Magic Pickle was an independent book from Scott Morse. 1 second.
What?
I'll show you.
It's like, hold on, I got it. Whoa.
I know,
Rob,
right?
Rob, you just like half vanished. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Like out
Here,
of
see,
existence.
I keep it. Magic Pickle.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Would you get
There you go,
Thanos out of the equation? There you go.
Yeah, Magic Pickle.
Yeah.
But they were only to do a lot of like black and white independent books, you know. That's where Kevin Smith first got all of his Jay and Silent Bob stuff printed. You know, and Coffin was done there, which was an amazing book, and there's just a bunch of that stuff. So I used to buy just mostly the independents. Girl Scouts, Jim Mahfood got his start over there too.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was Kevin Smith is the reason I discovered Oni. I think I've got a couple other Oni books. I've had a couple other Oni books. I'll be honest. I made sure I kept the Kevin Smith ones, but I don't. But that's yeah. I don't.
So every now and then something will come out that I'm like, oh man, I gotta own that, you know, 100%. And sometimes it's manga, like Delicious in Dungeon. I thought was fantastic, you know.
Look, man. I've read comics so long. Like I know there's certain mangas I would like to read. I'm like, my brain just cannot. Every time I try to read one, I'm like, this is taking too long to read because I have to like make my brain function like this, and it annoys me to the point where I'm like, I'm just gonna go read a comic because I have comics I want to read too. You know what I mean? And
sure.
And it's like I just can't. Does that ever bug you? The fact that you have to reverse as far as how you're doing?
What do you mean reverse how I'm doing?
In the capacity of reading a manga. You're reading.
Reading left to right. No,
Yeah,
I
right.
naturally read right to left. Like when I would get magazines, I used to read video game magazines and Wizard. I always start with the back and read the other way. Yeah.
You started with the price guide?
Yeah, the back of the book. Matter of fact, I'm not the only one because magazines like Play Magazine and different video game magazines started putting here's what's in the book at the end of the book. So for people who would do that. Yeah.
Well, okay, fair enough. All right, that's to each to their own, and I'll say that, but me particularly, like, my brain just never wanted to do it. And even like the Deadpool mangas, and I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I think I've read the first one and half the second, and it's just like I got other stuff to read that doesn't make my brain keep screwing up where I am in the story and jumping ahead and being like, oh wait, I was wrong, and have to go back and
But I
read
do
a
buy. I
book
mean,
at
like
that point.
anything Bengal does, I buy. Like he's a fantastic illustrator, cartoonist, colorist. He's fantastic.
So for you, from what you're saying, it's more the art than the story. Like, are there any writers that you follow comic book wise?
If they can make me laugh, like a lot of comics, I like humorous comics. That's why I like Savage Dragon. You know, I read Bone. Even the early Spawns had a lot of humor in them. You know, there was a lot of So unfortunately, there's not a lot of funny books unless they're being made for kids these days. So not a lot there for me to read. Manga will give you humor though. So there's a series called The City. There's an anime series called The City on they animated it. It's from a creator who created a manga called Nichijou, which came out like 15, 20 years ago, which was fantastic. And so I like humor. Even it can have violence and drama, but I like humor. And so, you know, that's why I like Aliens, because it's legitimately funny, but it's also terrifying. And there's just not a good balance of that being done by most. I think a lot of writers these days, when I pick up a book, really just want to like give you like their best impersonation of Grant Morrison or Brian Michael Bendis, you know. And I read those guys when they started. Like I read, you know, Doom Patrol when it was new, you know, like I read when Grant Morrison rebooted the GLA, right? So like those are all fantastic stuff, but my ideal situation would have been, you know, like maybe something written more by Scott McCloud or Paul Dini or even Jonan Vasquez, you know, like if you want to go way out there, you know.
But so wait, so are you not a fan of like what would be considered the comedic violent characters of the main two, like Lobo, Deadpool?
I love Keith Giffen. No, Keith Giffen's amazing. Lobo's hilarious. Like Infanticide, brilliant.
Harley Quinn.
The original Bruce Timm Harley Quinn, yes. Roller Derby Harley Quinn, not my character.
Yeah, those are the only
And
three.
I love Roller Derby. I don't want to hear anyone saying that. I just like Harley Quinn in the original design style, you know.
What about like the dark humor of Constantine?
Constantine?
Yeah.
Don't really like the art. So it needs to be a blend, you know? Like if Oliver Vatine had drawn, if you know who that artist is, if he had drawn like a Constantine, or if maybe even Carlos Meglia back in the day would have been super dope on that sort of thing. Or even Sam Keith. Sam Keith ever pulled that one off, that would have been something to see.
Okay. All right. That's just interesting to see that.
I think it probably comes down to the fact, not to cut you off, but now that it's in my head, the first books I really picked up that were comics were the original Mirage Studio Turtles books, specifically the first publishing collected volumes 1 through 4, which I still have, the color ones. And if you look at the way Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird put it together, it's got the violence, it's got the humor, and it's got the cartooning. And for me, like, you know, and even The Dark Knight Returns looks like a big cart. You know, it's the line work looks closer to Jim Borgman, right, than Brian Bolland, you know.
See, but it also makes me think, because I think about like what's coming out and the point you make as far as there's not a lot of books to that ilk, and I'm trying to think of what's. I don't know. I think Tim Seeley does that fairly well, as far as with some of his horror books. Maybe like the Hack Slash. I'm just trying to think of books that really put that comedy edge like that you're referring to. Like, there is no Scud out there anymore. You know?
No, there isn't any Scud out there. To my dismay,
there's no Scud.
You know? Body bags, no body bags. You know.
Huh? That's
Savage Dragon's the closest. You know. You get to
man.
to that,
no, you know, and I'm sorry, Eric Larson. I want to point out, but I've only ever read a couple issues of Savage Dragon. Like, I don't think I've ever actually read an issue of Savage Dragon. I think I have only ever read like where he's been in a story that I was reading elsewise. And now you just got me like, I really need to read Savage Dragon.
Well, Savage Dragon's different now than when it started. When it started, he wrote it like a continuing, sort of like a Marvel comic that was R-rated. At some point around issue 100 or 200, I can't remember where, somewhere around there, he once you draw so many issues, right, you get bored. So what he did was he made it where every month in the comic, the next issue you get, 30 days have passed in their universe. It occurs in real time in the comic. So yeah, so it's a different thing now. And some people don't like it, some people do. I like it because it is always something he always puts something in there I don't see coming, you know.
Now look, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna put it, because I've got a couple compendiums I'm looking, and I'm gonna find them and grab those up, and I'm like, okay, well, now I really need to get the Savage Dragon. But now you've got me like, do I just want to start at the one that starts at issue 100? Because that's hilarious. I've never, like,
I don't know the specific issue it started in. I can't remember, but at some point
it's I can Google it. It's fine,
yeah.
Rob. I try to do at least
I know, but there's always gonna be one person in the comments who's like, it was actually this issue, Rob. And I'm like, yeah, man, I know. I just don't, I'm not Mark Waid. I don't need to memorize the specific issue. I'm not going on a game show to win the trivia. But like that's where the book's writing style changed. And I like it because there's nothing else like it,
Yeah.
Because when you read Batman and Superman, you don't know how much time, passes between an issue. You just don't. Sometimes it's a continuous story. Sometimes you're like, remember when Grant Morrison wrote X-Men like 20 years ago, like Magneto was destroying all of New York and no other book in Marvel had New York being destroyed. So I'm like, when does it all, I mean, it can all be in their pocket universe is fine, but just let me know ahead of time, So Savage Dragon just exists now as like this slice of life thing that's closer in some ways to, like manga. They just slice of life in manga, And again, it has, its sense of like crude humor and stuff, but no one else is going to do it. So I appreciate it.
Nah, so you just sold some of Eric Larson's books. All right, so good job.
You won't, you know what? The letters columns alone are worth it. He's the only one I know that puts 8 pages of letters continually in every book, Yeah. The only one still doing it.
Oh man. All right, fine. You really like look. My plan was like I'm gonna thin my pool list out because I got like other things because I'm married with children. All right, I mean not really, but that's besides the point. There's child, right, and the whole thing. Life's been a ride, right? But so I was thinking about like thinning my pool list down. I'm like, okay, I'm about to thin. So, but why you always every time I bring somebody on this show, I gotta freaking. I'm like, I need to add that book and then like. Thankfully, most of them are limited series. I'll be real honest. Like, typically, it's like, okay, that's 5 issues, right? Cool.
Right.
It's a story. I can do that. You're like, here's an ongoing. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, he draws, writes, and inks it. He's the only guy. He's already got the Guinness Book. Actually, it's not quite at 300 yet, but because of the way Larson, he would just randomly do 100-page issues sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Randomly. So if you add pages, it's well over 300 by now, like gotta be.
Rob?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, man, you said God if he, and then I swear you just stopped.
Gotta be. Yeah.
Oh, gotta be. I thought you said God if he, and then it just sounded like you cut off, and I was like, that was I thought you hit your mic mute again or something, man. That's and those 100-page issues, that's just bloody absurd, right? What do you find is the difference with you, because you've worked on several different video games, you said, as far as Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and the comic book industry, right? I mean, what you're doing what's the main thing you're doing with those characters? Because those are characters that were already established at that point.
What am I trying to do, or what's the difference?
Both. It was a 2-parter.
Well, with the game, with the game, they, I'm not the art director. They'd bring me on, usually for ideation and then design. So ideation is a point in development where you throw any idea at the wall, right? Like you draw as many different ideas as you can, and they sort of they figure out internally which direction they want to go. And then you get specific, go in this direction, So I'm just trying to understand what they want to do, give them a little bit of what they expect and then what they don't expect, in any given circumstance with that. And then with the comic, I'm trying to make sure first and foremost, no one has a problem reading it. like I'm really just trying to make sure I'm not trying to rethink or win awards here for the layouts, At the same time, Todd has specific things he likes to see in a layout. So I make certain that's there too, whether I would instinctively do that or not, because everyone has what they like, And then drawing wise, I'm just trying to get, shape design where I can, things that I know. I always say things that wouldn't get approved. Like they wouldn't do this. This would never fly at this place, no editor at Marvel or no. And it's just because every time I go down that path, I've had my biggest successes. Like I got the Crash Bandicoot gig because 5 years before I did this Crash Bandicoot, I was working at a video game magazine that wasn't doing so well, and I was overworking myself. And for some reason, the owner of the company and I got into a discussion about Crash Bandicoot, and he was showing me all these different games that he had internally footage of that they had never released. He's like, yeah, they made these different games. And I'm like, why didn't they ever just go back to the original formula where Crash was like Tasmanian Devil meets, Owen Wilson? Like I don't understand. So I did this Crash sketch, which he admittedly looked maniacal, more of the Tasmanian than the Owen Wilson. Because I'm like, they keep leaning on the Owen Wilson and ignoring it. So it's just a pinup. And I was like, I just wanted to draw something that I know would never get approved. And I've just put it out there. But 5 years later, some art director was looking and saw something that, and then also saw all the other stuff I did. Right. And so I keep thinking, same with that Bane. I drew this Bane sketch thinking this is just not something they would ever deal with, or want, So someone like, that's why I never stress over, let's say I make a video, an art video, or I do, anything that the sales aren't high or the views aren't high, because all I really need is one person who can cut a check to see it. And so if you come from everything you do and you put a bit of your personality, your bit of, how you think into it, then, at least I got the best shot at someone hiring me to do what I'd want to do versus someone hiring me to do more of whatever they want to see, And so that I keep that, whether it's shirts or commissions or anything, I just keep that in mind on any project.
That's intriguing. So then for someone that wanted to get into it, right, and was just starting off and had wanted to make art their career, right? Like that's like, I want to do it, but be able to get to a level where it is, they are kind of drawing what they want, like you've been able to establish. Which I have a follow-up question for this. What would your advice be to them?
Well, look, everyone's going to have a different way to be successful. There is no one way to do it. My plan in 1997 was to just maintain some form of employment. And so I could focus on the basics, because even though I had done 4 years of, art in high school and 3 years in junior high, I wasn't good enough. I mean, I'd go to Comic-Con, and rather than submit portfolios, I'd watch everyone get a portfolio review, because portfolio reviews were pretty big in the 90s. Yeah. So what I did was I just took a little time off because I had some money saved up, and then I joined the Army, and I figured, well, I'll let the Army pay me, and then I could just spend the next 3 or 4 years focusing on construction and perspective. And so I would eventually just write little scripts for myself to see if I could draw what was in my head, and then I'd find my limits and go focus on those elements. So I spent from 97 to 2005 just basically doing that. Even though I did go to an art school, I didn't do any art there. It was all technical 3D and bullshit. So I had to then deal with completing the stupid school I started that I thought I was going to be drawing in, and I wasn't, as well as drawing. So when I was younger, I could handle 3 or 4 things at once, So I think if you're trying to start out, give yourself the space, you know, to make sure that you financially you're, you know, got a roof over your head. But then I would say give yourself smaller projects to complete and be very specific about the project you want to complete. If I want to complete a story that's 1 page or 2 pages, tell a story on 1 or 2 pages and complete it all the way through. A lot of times people just have an idea and don't start, or they start and they hate the way it looks, you know? And I'm like, well, you know, imposter syndrome is going to affect you at any stage of your career. So what you really need to do, you know, is, and this was something that I don't know how to teach this, but I learned this in doing t-shirts. You know, when anyone buys a t-shirt, like at Walmart or a Hot Topic, they didn't see the t-shirt in an ad and then run to the store. They walked into the store and just saw it on a wall. And it got their attention. Sometimes it's the licensed property. Sometimes it's the execution. Sometimes it's just dumb humor, whatever it is. So you got to find a way, and it's going to be specific to you, to get someone's attention without ever pitching them, you know, anything. They got to go, there's just something about this thing that caught my eye, you know? And so what I do with my own art is I basically develop whatever I'm working on to the point where if I don't feel it's special, I don't put it out there. Now that can affect my quantity of commissions or whatever else, but at the same time, I've seen what happens when people focus on quantity over quality, and eventually you could see artists parodying themselves, you know, where they if you draw too fast, you'll start to exaggerate. What became a fun shape design can be a crazy over the top. They go wonky. You produce too much work. You could produce too much. So I would just be very specific in what I want to do. If you want to draw comics, you have to draw comics. Covers aren't going to get you comics work. If you want to work in games, you need to have 2 skill sets. One, a production skill set. That means something that is going to be tangible by the user. That's a 3D model. That's a rig. That's something that's in production. The design part, the art part, is the part they generally never want to pay for, like, ever. So you have to also be able to do the design. So give yourself, design things to give yourself the ability to make something in production. I personally never wanted to be a 3D modeler because I have carpal tunnel, and I ran into just physical limitations. So I spent my time in t-shirts and graphic design, which I could do a little faster, but I would also have to then work in my art any way I could into those things, either on t-shirts or in video game magazines or whatever else I could, to then elevate myself to, you know, getting attention from someone else, you know. And I don't think, regardless of what happens in the future, what program, AI, whatever happens, any of that fundamentally will change, because it's been that way for, you know, long since before I was born. But it will be specific to you. You know, some people get really big just by streaming online. Some people get big never. There's guys right now and women in the industry that have been working 20 years. You don't even know their name, and they've been producing great work because there's only so much one person can take in, you know? So, you know, you have to find what works for you in this moment. And then if it doesn't, make a decision if you need to pivot or not. Sometimes you don't need to pivot. You don't want to become reactionary. You know, sometimes you just ebb and flow. So what I've done for myself is I've given myself different styles that I enjoy doing. Right? Sometimes I like to do color pencil. Sometimes I like to do the sequential. Sometimes I like to do cover work or whatever. And so I just tend to jump back and forth between a different medium or a different style just to, you know, not overkill it. But that's me.
I mean, and that's understandable. I think it's always important, like you said, with the ebb and flow of life, but also being able to know when to pivot. Because, man, you ever feel like you look back and go, oh, I shouldn't have pivoted?
Yeah, I mean, we've all had those moments. I mean, there was one, you know, Mosaic was a book that when the writer didn't produce a script, I then just started trying to find a book to draw. And I ended up hooking up with a company called Ape Entertainment, and I was working with Kevin Grievous on this Monstroids book. Kevin Grievous is the creator of the Underworld movies and stuff like that. And I probably, as great as fun it was to work with Kevin and everyone, I should have just sat down and just done my own version of Mosaic, you know, just make up my own version or make up my own comic and just get it done. Like, there's another time when I got the offer to leave my day job at T-shirts to go draw graphic novels for this company called Fusion Publishing. They wanted to do graphic novels using video game licensed properties that would then be the basis for the next game in the series. So you do the graphic novel first, and that would be the basis for the game. And I didn't need to leave my day job to go do that, but I did. Probably shouldn't have done that, you know, like in hindsight, you know, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. It all worked out in the end overall, you know, and, but there have been times I felt like pivoting and I didn't, and I was smart not to. And that's when Toys for Bob wanted me to work for him. I almost said no, you know. So I was at the point where I didn't want to have to start over from scratch in terms of now I got to change my art style again to fit another company. And, you know, like I could just be focusing on creating my own stuff and not dealing with this.
Do you, so with what you said right there, and that's something I need to know, like, you've got anything that you're plotting from yourself personally?
I have several things I could do right now if I was ready to go. Yeah.
No, oh, I mean, as far as like a story that you've written.
Yeah, story complete to end, all written down, dev docs, characters, different. It's all. I got tons of stuff.
How many of those?
At least 7 to 10, and one that could stretch 5-6 years if I wanted it to. Yeah. Well, you're like, Rob, why not do it? And I'm going to tell you, because 15-year-old Rob wouldn't be happy with me if I said I turned down Spawn to go do my own comic. 15-year-old Rob, or let's put it this way, 18-year-old Rob wouldn't have been happy if I turned down the opportunity to work on a Crash Bandicoot game. How many of them are they making? How many people are letting me? I'm not like, if I was having to fill in Spawn and draw exactly like one of their artists, that would be something else. But I get to kind of do what I do, and no one else is doing that. So I'm like, well, then there's no harm in just having fun and building up, you know. And, you know, if I live long enough, yeah, I can just keep doing what I'm doing. But like, unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day, you know, you can't, I'm not going to commit multiple books, you know, or ideas, you know.
All right. So if, let's say, would you specifically want to draw these, you wouldn't want to go and maybe try and get it to where you had a different artist on these and you would just.
Nobody but me could probably draw this stuff. It's specifically designed to what I like to do. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I had to ask because that's a lot.
I have no interest. Yeah, I know. I just have no interest in being like a publisher, you know, where I go and put crews together and like, no, there's no sense in that. No one's asking me to, like, people want to see more of what I would do if you asked, you know, so that's what I should spend my time doing. But if you're like, why do I have these ideas? Because I take them to a point where the only thing next to do is to just write issue 1. It's all figured out. Like I break down all the outlines, I break down how it's going to go, all the characters, the arcs, the premise, everything, you know, in a concise document. They're ready for publishers because I ran into this problem again back in like 2010 or 2011 where I sat in front of IDW and they wanted to know an idea and I didn't have anything to pitch them. You know, I had one idea in my head that I still think would be a good, bad idea. But I told them, I said, like, this is a good, bad. This is the kind of movie, this is the kind of idea you would make your money with in the direct-to-DVD market. But you could do well with it. It's a good, bad idea.
What? So it's a Demolition Man.
Sort of. So I said, you know the movie.
I love that movie, by the way.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah.
You know National Lampoon, right? So it's like National Lampoon's Vacation, but it's Santa Claus who wants to go on the summer road trip with the elves who got to pretend to be his kids and his hot wife who's a lush, right? And he's just trying to have a non-Christmas vacation, you know, on the road, and it goes horribly fucking wrong, you know. And I just wanted that. There's that scene in Vacation where he's at the bar. I wanted to see him at the bar, but it's all the other out of season characters, you know, like the bunny rabbit and fucking the pumpkin guy, whatever. Everyone's just like having a shit fucking summer too, because there's no summer mascots. It's all patriotic, right? Like, so they're all off in the summer, and it would just And they just looked at me, bro, like so fucking. I'm like, it's like a DreamWorks idea, right?
I you have me envisioning this in your art style right now, Rob. And I am highly amused, is all I can say. And man,
Right.
like, find the time to make that one, because
if only I was faster.
and that's but that's the thing, like you said, as far as just the you didn't want to go into publishing and all that. We've had the pleasure of having Ross Ritchie on a couple times, who is the founder and former owner of Boom, because he made it real clear when he was on the Christmas Eve special, the PanCon special, that it's like, don't send me pitches. I don't own the company anymore, right? Because his wife was like, it's gonna give you a heart attack. Because he didn't like, it was a whole thing about just the pressure of being able to do that. And then you look at everybody independently that does that. I understand you being like, looking back, like, you'd never run a Kickstarter. Is that what you're telling me?
I have run Kickstarters. No, I did a Kickstarter back in 2013. I was there when it first launched with Kill Screen. I didn't do that when I wanted to pivot to Kickstarter, but I did a Kickstarter for a book called Game Cave, which was going to be like a video game magazine featuring fictional editors. And unfortunately, between that and so I did another one featuring my prints, I had a business partner who stole my funds. And so I made it very public. And it took, and I didn't know this. He went to Indiegogo and also sold a bunch of my art, like without my knowing. So it took me some time. I got everyone fulfilled that I could get fulfilled, but the book was one that sat on my shelf for a while because there's no simple way around that. And I did do the work. I hired writers to write me some game reviews. And I said, you write the game review and I'm going to rewrite it in this character's voice. But they kept, man, I got to tell you, people don't fucking listen, like when you give them instructions, right? So like, I'm like, don't tell me your personal life story with the game, review the game. Because I'm going to have a fictional character in another universe, rewrite this, and they're not going to have your story when you were a kid. They got their own backstory. And I hired 4 or 5 different people, paid them well, and they all did the same thing I asked them not to do. Time and time again. I spent a year going over this. So I just basically put it on the shelf, claimed defeat, and I just saved up the money and paid back. It took me several years to pay the Kickstarter out, you know? And it got to the point where I think in 2018, I did tell them, hey, you know, for the last few remaining people, it was like 50 people. If you want, you know, if you want your money back, I have the money, here you go. If you feel I got ripped off and you don't want to make me pay out, I appreciate it. Just let me know. But you have 1 year from 2018, December, 1 year from now, I'm cutting it off. And everyone said they were cool, man. A couple people wanted their money. They got it. No big deal. And then December 19th, I just washed my hands of it. You know, I haven't going back. I'm going to have to go back to Kickstarter, but I'm not looking forward to the 2 people who out there are probably still sour about that whole situation, which rightfully so. But I legitimately got robbed from a person I was done a lot of business with for 10 years. And it was just a lesson that you just can't, you know, you just can't trust anybody with your bank account, you know, anybody. So.
Well, no wonder you don't like Kickstarter. I
like Kickstarter.
Well, I mean,
I do like
in using.
Right. But no, I say I'll get to it, but I'm not in a hurry. And more to the point, you know, when I say like being a publisher, I was friends with Tom, the guy who owns Big Dog Inc. I was friends with him from around 2010 to 2012, 2013. And I used to drive with him from California out to Arizona all the time. And so I watched him build Big Dog Inc. from the beginning, you know, and just paying people to write and to draw and to put things together. I don't get anything out of that. You know, I enjoy helping artists if they need help, but I don't personally enjoy any of that. And I would just want to end up doing it myself at some point. So there's no sense in it.
That's man, just it got real deep over here, Rob, and I'm totally blaming you because you don't like political songs, and we're just gonna take it there. And normally I'm the one that gets. Well, normally I'm the one that gets political.
I said patriotic.
Patriotic. That's what I meant. That's not what I said. I
love Rage Against the Machine. Like,
all right. I mean, yeah. I can't disagree with you there. So, but you're not like who's the country singer that like boot in your.
No. You start with country? No.
We'll put a boot in your. Yeah, that one. Like,
no, don't care.
Come on, man. I live in Indiana. You're gonna get me shot. I gotta be patriotic.
Hey, you know what, man? Hiding the upside down. Hawkins.
Hide in the upside down. Did you really just make
Hawkins
it?
in
All right,
Stranger Things.
you just made a Stranger Things reference. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, look, Rob. Some of us know the upside down, and you don't
Some of
hang
us
out. You don't hang out there, man. You weren't in like how man. It makes me want to like. You were in the Army 3 years. What was your job?
It was a 19 kilo M1A1 Abrams tanker for a year, and then I moved into nuclear, biological, chemical for the remainder of my time in the military.
How much of your service record is redacted?
No, I was before 9/11, man.
Wait, are you saying after 9/11, military records started becoming way more redacted?
I never went to war, so I don't have anything to redact. It's a normal job.
Oh, well.
We had ninjas once. I mean, that was the most I could. Yeah, we had a ninja problem. Not getting into it. Just take my word for this one.
No, man. Look, you can't tell me you love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You served in the Army.
Yes.
And then this
Yes.
one time you had a ninja problem. It
Yeah.
was kind of
Well,
weird
when
and not
people go down
explaining
range,
yourself.
when people go down range for training, not everyone goes. And there came a point where I didn't go. I was the one who stayed back. And so all the barracks are empty and locked up. But my barrack is open now. In Germany, they don't turn off the, at the time, they didn't turn off the heat, the little water heaters on the side of the wall that heat up the room in the winter. In the summer, they run. So your room could get hot. So you leave the window open. Well, some dudes, and it turned out it was 2 NCOs who didn't go down range, were dressed up like ninjas, sneaking into the different rooms to rob them since they were empty. And so I slept with a big, buck knife just in case, right? Like I had this big buck knife, Rambo style. And my key was in the door to keep people from coming into the barracks. But I had a roommate who was never my roommate because he lived off post. This one night, he decided he was too drunk to make it back to his apartment and decided to come to the door, but it was locked. And it's the middle of the night, I'm sleeping. So he comes through the window, but he didn't know about the ninja problem. So as he's coming through the window, I go, "It's motherfucking ninjas!" Right? And I like stabbed at him with a knife. He fell out the window screaming, and I had to like. They eventually caught the guys dressed up like ninjas, and they got him for 2 hours.
That your drunk buddy was trying to come in.
Yeah, but I thought he was one of the ninjas.
Motherfucking ninjas.
Yeah, motherfucking right out of my
And like how confused did that guy have to be in that? I'm like, what?
And very confused and deeply superstitious, screaming. Yeah, it was hilarious.
No, that is terrible. Real quick for everyone out there, I want you all to check out this. Studio Comics, right? If you need some, they can get you 20% off with this code. Check it out right now. All right. I really just need one moment, and then I was gonna wrap up, but I have to do one quick thing, and this has been phenomenal, Rob. Thank you. Oh my God, are you serious, motherfucking ninja? What the fuck?
Yeah, that happened.
That's. See, this is.
If you want to know what it was kind of like, there's a movie called Dog Soldiers with Joaquin Phoenix and Ed Harris and Anna Paquin. They shot that in Vilsec, which was maybe 20 miles from where I was stationed. And so, and that's him. He works in S3 and he's like selling mop and glow to the, that's what my time in nuclear, biological, chemical was like, was a lot like the first half of that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, when you said that initially, look, I got a buddy of mine, but he served, and he's told me some stories, but he and in his
no, I was like Animal Health with grenades. You know what I mean? It wasn't a big deal.
Fucking what?
I don't have the PTSD. You know, people knocking on my door. I don't like that, but that's about it.
That's just Jesus. Let me see. Where's the limit? I love that. That's. Oh man. Sometimes, like, look, you're killing me with that least favorite fictional character, dude. You don't even know. It's not because I give a shit. Because are you speaking like when you say God? Are you specifically saying the Christian God?
I think any organized religion. Do I think there's something greater than us? Certainly, But when the minute you give it a form and you're selling books and T-shirts and shit like that, then you just create a comic book character.
Shit. That's.
I know a little something about merchandising, and characters and all that shit. So.
All right, man. Look, but I do this thing at the end, and I can't. It's cool. I got enough there where I ain't got to use that. But man, I can't. It's cool. Let me just Duckburg. I think that's one of the safest. You picked a safe one, man. And most people don't.
It's also the place I'd love to see. I just would love to walk around and watch the adventures taking place. When they made Toontown at Disneyland in the 90s, I was pissed it wasn't just Duckburg that didn't have a Darkwing over here and a Rescue Rangers over there, and the big money bin. And instead it was based off Roger Rabbit, which I was like, is not someplace I want to go to. Toontown that place will kill you. Duckburg is amazing.
Oh, I'm gonna shit it. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I watched most of those shows. My bad. This is where this is the main reason I swear I need a co-host, because there's a moment where I have to do this, but it's also perfect that I have the commercial. And I'm gonna have to make sure Larry cut this out at this point so they don't just catch me rambling and fucking, not that, I mean, what we talked about Duckburg, but then he would have to edit out way more fucking swears. And I hope that's how he knows that's when he because we do try and keep it PG-13, motherfucker. I swear, I do not give a shit, man. It just makes the editor's job harder, but with what we're doing, that's totally fine with you. That's interesting that you're like, I would just listen. I've had there are 3 different questionnaires, man, and finally, I'm in the moment where I'm about to start, and then they're gonna actually come out, but so there's 3 different versions though. Some of the questions on them are all respectively the same, especially always the last one to make sure yo, I cover what the fuck you want to cover coming on as a guest. But that creator of the universe thing. No one's ever said just shut up and listen.
What are you going to say to someone who made the universe?
Most people want to ask a question. Sometimes people are like, fucking why? Sometimes, they're like, why? There's a number of things that people have to that question. I think it's very, very interesting, Rob, that you're essentially like, I just shut up and listen. That's intriguing. And probably the best, if you literally had the creator of the universe, but would you not have a question?
No, I mean, there's nothing you're going to get an answer to that you maybe would probably, I wouldn't know what. I just look, I've been in rooms with people smarter than me plenty of times. They'll lead the way, and then from there, you'll know what to do.
All right. Fair point. Well,
maybe God just wants to play NFL Blitz. You never know. You're going to be let down by that. You just go with it. You can be like, one time I spent with the creator of the universe. Did you ask him? No, just wanted to play Blitz. So who am I to argue with?
All right. All I know is we're back, right, from Studio Comics. And you heard Rob. He said God might just want to play NFL Blitz. So if you ever meet the creator of everything that exists, Rob said just shut up and listen, right? Which I think is phenomenal, Rob. And I hope you all have enjoyed listening to this quest right here, man, with Rob. Duenas. All right. See, I I was like, look, because you said you've been called that too many times, and I didn't want to do that, so my brain had to flip back on
You
it.
can always use Sketchcraft.
That's
It's
why.
all good.
That's why it's good. It is sketchcraft.com. Link right
There
in
you
the
go.
description. Right. So I hope you all check this out. Right now, I want to let you all know if you really enjoyed this. Right. What I want you all to do for Rob is I want you to send him Calvin and Hobbes. Right. With all the Muppets. Right. And with them, I want them to bring the original Jetfire Transformer. Right. Like the OG one. Right. The
Yeah,
Macross
look at
style.
that.
The Macross style. Right. As well as the first. Oh wait. Well, you said you still had those though. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first publishing 1 through 4. You
Yeah, I
still,
have this.
all right. See, he still has it. So never mind. He don't need it. And a bunch of tamales. You just sit around, chill, and watch a bunch of films. Cause man, that's you with your lists, man. I swear. At least I ain't never had anybody like really go. Sometimes I get a writer to fill one of these out, Rob, and I'm like, I wanted short answers, not essays. What the hell?
Right.
Right. But yeah,
Now they write.
yeah, man. I mean, it's
You won't
good.
write that issue Rob's waiting for, but they'll write that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, and with that, some chauffeurs candies and what lint chocolate is that lint? It's lint, right?
Yeah, Lynn.
Lint.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And just throw in some Twix, man. Maybe he'll like them from back in the day, right? But that again is if you enjoyed this quest. Now, if you didn't enjoy this quest, why are you here? I mean, but if you are, man, thanks for watching. That's what's up, man, But apparently Rob annoyed you, right? So I'm going to tell you how to annoy him if you really, really want to, right? It's really, really actually not that hard with Rob. Funnily enough, man, you made this like way, way too easy. I kind of feel bad about it, right? But all you gotta do is get a bunch of people, right? And be like, Rob's annoying. You just gotta get a bunch. You go and you learn a bunch of patriotic songs, right? To sing, right? And then you just show up wherever Rob is and you start singing patriotic songs as a large group of people, right? This will work perfectly. It might also get you kicked out fairly quickly of wherever you are, but that's neither here nor there. And never forget, as Rob said, man, it's a great quote. Don't take kindness for weakness, right? But what you want to do, right, is 3 more things, right? 1, give it that thumbs up. Or don't, whatever. Besides that, always get your comic on. And have a good night, y'all.
Thanks so much for hopping on board and listening to the questionnaire.
Keep a listen out to these crazy guys.
The questionnaire.
I missed something.
Like and subscribe.
You're drunk. Go home.
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
Don't have a good day. Have a great day.